what's the holdup with your work visa? Like, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on? Because we need to get you back on the beat.
I mean, I want to get back on the beat as quickly as possible. And I think the worst part about my case is that it's not unique. I know at least two people, and they're not Hispanic actually, but who are in a similar situation. So what happened is USCIS, the government agency that processes visas, has been traditionally just funded by sort of the fees that foreign nationals pay to get their visas, green cards, naturalizations, right? So that is one part of the of that process of making immigration more difficult. In one of those bills, I believe it was in the early 2000s, it banned USCIS from using taxpayer money to provide services to, as the law says, aliens. So it's always been an agency that has more work than resources. It's always been the difficult circumstances they process. I mean, about 1 million people a year in a normal year immigrate legally to this country. So, or finish their immigration procedures and become permanent residents. So it is a lot of work. That agency, the Trump administration, changed its focus from being a service provider to immigrants to being sort of, they wanted it to be like the first line of defense for American jobs, which, as much as that's a misnomer, we don't need to get into that, but they changed the mission statement, the actual mission statement of USCIS. That was the first thing they changed, and they were very proud of that. And with those reforms, and these are just structural things that nothing done legislatively. This can be reversed with a flick of a pen and a whole lot of bureaucratic work, because these things, it's like steering the tanker. It's not agile. So one of the things they did is they took officers away from reviewing new applications and put them into reviewing old applications, looking for incidents of fraud, despite the fact that fraud in these sorts of applications it doesn't seem to be common. There's no research that says that people have been defrauding the federal government to naturalize as U.S. citizens. It just doesn't happen that much. It's very complicated, and people do it through lawyers generally. So the lawyers also don't want to defraud the federal government because they don't want to be disbarred for the most part. So they took resources and sent them on a wild goose chase, essentially.
Right.
That's
there was no indication that they needed to do this search, but they did it anyway because they changed the mission statement and they thought it was cool.
Because it was good politics for them. Right. And it was at the beginning of the Trump administration. The 2018 and 2020 elections sort of show that it wasn't permanently good politics, because the cruelty implicit in what Trump suggested and won on in 2016 scared away a lot of suburban voters in 2018 and 2020. Yeah. So it's good politics, but it does have sort of a low bar of how long it will work. Anyway, in USCIS, so resources were diverted, and then the pandemic came and closed down a lot of USCIS offices, places where people have to go and give their fingerprints or have an interview with an officer to get their green card. In my particular situation, I was transitioning from an H-1B visa to a green card. I have a green card application pending, and there's usually a gap in your work permit of a few weeks. While they have you come in and give fingerprints at your local USCIS office. Because of the pandemic and because of staff reductions and all that we talked about, they don't have as many appointments. It's been slowed down. They're just not there. So there's I don't know how many, and I don't know if there's a way to really calculate that number. There's a lack of transparency in immigration processing. That's sort of by design. Originally, the idea was national.
We exploited the case, FYI. We sent I sent the freedom of information request last week for your case. So we'll see if they get back or what they get back with. It might take a year or two, but sooner or later we will know what is going on right now at USCIS on your case.
the important thing is that my case is just is one of many, and there hasn't been a push by the Biden administration. I haven't even seen any Biden officials speak of this publicly, of fixing the things that were sort of broken on purpose, and whether their mentality is that USCIS is a service provider or a first line of defense. They really haven't gotten into that.
That's
to be
really
fair, it could probably be bad politics for them to get into that, but is it, for many immigrants and for many immigration advocates, it's really, that one becomes a little bit of a matter of principle. Do you think immigrants and people who want to be productive immigrants in this country, do we have the right to sort of quick resolution? And also, I mean, and the fact is, people in my situation are stuck in this country without the possibility of generating any sort of revenue. Long term, of course, that becomes unsustainable. And the idea, of course, is what Mitt Romney called self-deportation. But does the country want to push people like me to self-deport? And that's really a question that needs to be answered by the highest levels of leadership.